Hey guys, I got the new Honda CRV 2013 roof rack rails, and I've been looking online for a long time to purchase these, but I never had the time or money, nor could I find the instructions. So put together this video to help people understand the assembly process of the roof rack rails. And this is for model number A010M12680D. But I'll post that in the comments as well. Alright, before we go outside and I show you kind of the assembly method, I want to talk about the tools that I used for the assembly. First, flathead screwdriver. This is just going to be used for prying things. Second, I have a Torx bit set. You're going to end up needing a T30 and a T10 bit. I have a Sawzall that's going to be used to cut the rail, the aluminum rail, so I got a metal blade on there. I've got a power drill for screwing in the torque nuts. These are the screws that come with it, and there's also one small screw on the inside, so make sure you don't lose that. That's that thing right there. Safety glasses, tape, Sharpie, and then painter's tape. Alright, so I'm outside and I've gone and put painter's tape right at that seam on the rail where the top rail meets the windscreen edge, and I've measured 0.7 inches, which comes out to about 10.2/16 of an inch from the top as described in the measurement to the edge on the rail. I put down the painter's tape and made a mark here. I'm going to use that later. I'm at the rear of the car and I'm going to go ahead and remove this black cap right here. I'm just going to insert the screwdriver under here, pry up a little bit, work it around. You should hear a pop once it comes up off. I'm going to put this down while I do that. Now that I've got it up, I'm just going to wiggle this back and forth, working my way along. You're going to see there's a clip here that I gotta get this rail to pull up out of. You can be a little forceful here. It's not going to hurt it too much. You gotta pop these all out and you'll end up throwing them all away anyway. Just don't break off the rear molding cover. So I've gone through and popped up the rail. You can see down the length of it, there's a couple different color tabs. I ended up bending it a little bit on a couple spots here as I was pulling up. If you wanted, you could go down a little slower, but in the end it doesn't really matter because you're just going to be throwing this away at the end. Tricky part here is, here's the blue tape, and then you get down into these two areas where you got one showing and I don't have the other one up yet, but it's difficult to get these parts out, and these ones you don't want to break because they're going to be the ones that are ultimately needing to go back in. So that's the first one, and I got to get the second one out here in a second. Alright, so now I've got the end bar taped up here with a box. For the instructions, tape the box down because I'm doing this by myself. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody to hold this. But I'm going to go in here with the Sawzall. I'm going to cut it right through that line there. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop these things back into place now that I've got them done. So I'm going to put the phone down again and make this cut. Alright, so I'm back up here and I've made the cut here. Looks like it was pretty clean. We'll see how it is. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Alright, coming back here to show you with the cut piece now. So there's these tabs that you might have moved during the cutting process that you got to go and basically insert back into their slots. So now I'm just going to pick them up and put them back in. So I popped that into place here. I'm just going to go along and just pick out these tabs here. So just have to coax them out a little bit. I'll get my flathead screwdriver for this. So now I have the rear molding and the mold cover in hand, and I'm going to talk about you have to lift up a tab to slide out this piece from it's in a little channel right along there. And the tricky part is you have to lift this piece up right here because it's holding the clip in place. You gotta lift it up flat so you can slide this whole assembly right here backwards out of it. In the end, I ultimately will just end up bending the aluminum such that I can wiggle it out, but be careful not to snap anything off of the rear cover. So just to illustrate the purpose here, I ended up getting a pretty flat small screwdriver, wedging it in underneath this little clip and bending it up just a little bit so that ultimately I can slide it in through a channel that's going to be in there. It's not going to show up in this shadow here. And then I just slid these two parts out. Here's the original piece there, and here's the piece that I'm going to keep. And just throw away the long rod that you're not going to need anymore. Here we are back at the end of the car. We're going to just go ahead and bring that clip in here, and then we're just going to kind of set it down. Sorry, I'm going to set it down so that the white cap is going to sit over one of the nuts. This is like an anchoring bolt. Fit it in just so. You're going to push it in place, and then that's all there is to it. I think you end up kind of wedging it one way or the other. I'm not sure which way, and I'll figure that out. But it should lock into place and you'll be good to go. So I'm back on top of the car here, and I've collected the bottom piece of the rail, which is the kind of heavier weighted piece, and oriented on the car. Two ways you can tell: there's the right front and the right rear. Or what I did is there's these two bolts that are ultimately going to be facing inside of the car. It's easier to line it up. So the trick here is you're just gonna kind of finagle this piece in front here. Kind of interesting, I'm not sure if I always cut it right, but it looks like the front rail might slide into that piece there. But anyway, you're just gonna bring that part over and it's just gonna sit in there pretty easily. I'll let you guys figure out the rest of that part. So I've got it seated now. I'm gonna take the bolt here. It's just gonna sit in there. Kind of hand tighten it, get it threaded. Then I'm just gonna take my drill and install these. You can do front, rear, middle, rear, up to you on that. So I've got the front installed here. I'll give you a profile view here. 6 bolts, these kind of copper gold bolts installed and tightened down. You can look at the specification in the manual for the actual Newton meter torques to apply. So I have the last piece, which is the silver cover. And what's interesting about this is that it's got all these little grommets that you're going to be putting onto these white plastic caps, which if you can get a profile shot are mushroomed so that once you push down it'll snap into place. The only tricky part here is that you got this little fisheye that you got to hook over a piece on the front here. So you got to hook it on that. So you bring it forward, then you're going to slide it all the way back. Then you're just going to knock it into place. I'm going to have to put the phone on again. And then there's one last step and you'll be all done. So I've done that and just about completed the installation. It is now locked into place. You can see on the other side I've also installed that. Take a look here. So last thing here, you're going to look on the inside, find this hole here. That's where that last screw in the bag is going to go, right into here. Like I said, it uses a T10 driver, and you finish that up and you're all done.